Welcome back to the broadcast. This is To The Point. We have released Catherine Simaloi, who was on the sign language interpreter's desk. And of course, we get to this conversation, as earlier mentioned, alongside Kate Nyambura, who's a divorce recovery coach, as well as Paul Masharia, who's an advocate of the High Court. As we get to this conversation, I want us to begin by looking at this message that was sent to me upon releasing the poster. And this gentleman says, in this age, divorce is normal, and he laughs about it. What we need to take care of, or what we need to be keen on, is in the event that they are children, what do we do about them? And I think that's basically the conversation. You being a recovery coach on the question of divorce, have we got into a space where we have to accept as a people that indeed divorce is normal, and we actually laugh about it, and like those days where we could have cried about it?
Yes, we've gotten to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And why we've gotten to that point is things are changing. Marriage has been redefined because of the things that are coming into society. We don't laugh about divorce because it's funny. It's actually a very painful process. But once you overcome and realize the benefits of actually being in a space where you can be a good parent, take care of your child, and in a healthy and balanced environment, then you actually see that, yeah, divorce is sometimes the best option.
All right. And so when you say you are a recovery coach, then one would want to ask, to who? To the persons that have divorced, and what about the children?
Yes, both. We actually, our organization, the Oasis Experience, cater for both. We actually take care of the parents. Once the parents have been through the recovery process, and just helping them navigate by equipping them on how to navigate some of the things like the custody, which we are discussing today. Then when we are done, we actually have a space for the children where we actually have the same setup, group therapy for kids, where they come in and they're able to just go through the same sessions as their parents have gone through.
Perhaps there's someone who's going through divorce this evening, and they cannot get or seem to get any form of sense from anyone who's not undergoing the process. And therefore they would want to ask, why would I want to sit down and listen to Kate? Is Kate, in a position to understand my experience? Is it that Kate has gone through this experience such that she can speak boldly? Or she's just, a counseling psychologist who has now turned into a divorce recovery coach? Why would you think it is important for persons who are going through this, to listen to you this evening?
Actually, for us, it's we listen to each other. That is what a coach does, a recovery coach does. Okay. Where you come in and tell us, what are you going through? Then, because of experience, for us, it's experience. I was married for 14 years. I've been divorced for 12 years. So I have gone through the parenting challenge. I've gone through the divorce challenge. I've gone through now my children are actually adults. I'm actually a grandmother, which is a new thing. So,
and I'm sure there are very many of us who are trying to calculate her age because she doesn't look like it. So I am busy doing 14 plus 12, 26, and you're saying she's a grandmother. She doesn't look like one. Come on, Kate.
Yes. Yeah. So it's actually not a myth. It's not something we've studied in school. Yes, we have to get the expertise and the knowledge, but it's also, you have been through the process.
Right.
So somebody going through divorce will come and tell us, I'm going through this. And yours is to encourage and equip. Tell them, if you follow this path, it will be difficult. If you follow this other path, things will be easier. Like now the topic of child custody. And
so children were involved in your case, like you say, you're now a grandmother.
Yes.
And somehow you have undergone this process of, just trying to figure out this question of child custody.
Yes.
All right, we'll come back to that. Dr. Wakili, thank you so much for creating time to be with us.
Pleasure. I'm also grateful for the opportunity and the chance to be here tonight. Yes.
Many will choose to suffer in silence, and just figure out the things on their other way. But equally, there are very many of them that will want to seek legal advice, legal guidance, especially when it comes to the question of divorce and of importance, the aspect of child custody. How has it been like, especially in Kenya today?
So that has been with a tremendous difficulty, because you understand the process of divorce not only involves the physical separation, there is also the aspect of the mental and the feeling and the investment, in terms of the emotional investment, which is the most difficult part to disengage, because the person you are going apart is a person you've spent your life, you have believed in, you have invested, you have children together. So it's very difficult, and that's why you see sometimes divorces become very acrimonious. Some become, people start abusing, blaming each other. And at least we have seen some development even in terms of the law, in terms of the process, because now what we advise for, because if people have decided to move separate ways, heaping blames will not help either. And there is a provision in the Marriage Act that provides for where there is a irretrievable breakdown of a marriage. It may be because of so many factors, and it is what we call no-fault divorce. I mean, a divorce where, as much as the parties cannot coexist, there is a provision that, I mean, you can approach the court and tell the court it cannot work, it is not working, it will not work, and the court will not force parties together. Of course, the difficult part has been dealing with the aftermath of divorce, because you understand, these are people who had property together, joint property. These are people who had children together. And you see, when you start the blame game, it has the ripple effect.
Wakili, let's take us slow,
Yes.
And I agree with you that sometimes we want to handle some of these matters with a lot of emotion, with a lot of heaping blames, with a lot of character assassination, you know. Just how can a man, for instance, you know, who is seeking to get custody of their kids or of their kid, manage through a court case without a lot of character assassination and heaping of blames? Because as it is, and I think we would have begun by perhaps addressing some of the misconceptions that involve, you know, these court battles. Because then again, this is what we are told. A child is a child to their mother until maybe they are 18. Or, you know, there's that age factor. And therefore, if a man is going to prove that they are supposed to have custody over these children, they must heap a lot of blame, don't you think?
So what we do, because what you will notice and what you will realize, when there is a divorce is a cause, people want to move away, the issue of children also kicks in. The issue of property also kicks in. So as much as you want so much to move away from this person, there are other factors you have to consider. Now, what there has been, and what we, the family lawyers, have put as our tool of trade, is that we have also trained mediators. And in the court is trying to streamline the process of the court-annexed mediation, where even if you've divorced, the issue of the child maintenance and custody, the issue of property can be addressed successfully. And we've done this with a number of clients, and then they move separate ways happy, because at least the issue of the emotional baggage, because in a court, there is a winner and a loser. In a mediation, everyone is a winner, because you agree on how to divide the property you've acquired together, you agree on how to go about the issue of custody, the issue of maintenance. So what there is a lot of investment by the court and by the practitioners in a family court to try to entrench the issue of mediation, the issue of alternative dispute resolution, because when you strictly have to go through the court process, then the court will make a pronouncement. This pronouncement, more often than not, it is dividing, it is divisive. But when the parties accept to go through the process of mediation, and the court, we have what we call the court-annexed mediation. So once the case has been filed in court, be it a matrimonial cause, be it a children's case, then the court has the liberty and can advise the parties, try mediation. And I've seen it work.
Well, I don't know just how much it works, because then upon the involvement of children, it means that then there has to be some element of mediation and management all the way, because then these human beings that are growing are in existence. You know, it comes a time when, you know, she wants to get married, and therefore you are married to somebody else, but then the dad has to be involved therein, because from the onset there was the aspect of mediation, and therefore it is the dad to walk the child down the aisle, yet there's another husband in the life of the mother, and all this conversation. So when we're talking about maintenance and when we're talking about mediation, just how possible is this?
For us, I would like to agree with Wakili.
Yeah.
For us, because what we encourage and the tools we offer is for you to be able to go through the process without getting so emotional, to be more logical about it. And it is a place where now you come express your emotions, so that by the time maybe you're going into the courtroom, you're more sober and clear about things.
Is that to say then that perhaps you need to give yourself time? Because if this is the point where you're breaking up, do you address some of these matters instantly, or you allow yourselves time to cool down? Because at this moment, it's at the heat of emotions, without doubt.
There are things that can wait, like property matters can wait. But there are things that can't wait, like children, because school, they still have to go on with their education. They still need a home. They still need that clarity of what exactly is going on. So there are things which you advise, just take your time and breathe and know how you're going to pursue. Is it mediation? Are you going to court? And there are also issues where you can actually just sit and agree. But matters like for children, custody, those ones it's a hot potato. You actually have to deal with it instantly, because if you don't deal with it, then it escalates to children being kicked out of school because of lack of school fees. And probably the money is there, you're just not in agreement. Who is picking the child? So you have children being left in school because maybe you're waiting for one parent to pick and the other one did not pick. So there are issues that you don't wait. There are other issues you can be patient about. Wakili will agree with me that there are situations like with property, you can put a caveat on the property so that everything waits until the rest settles. Yes.
All right. And Wakili says that, you know, if the court is going to make a pronouncement, it perhaps might not be so friendly for, you know, the both of you. So what are some of the factors that then the courts would typically consider, you know, when they are, you know, deciding on these cases of child custody, and especially for the arrangements that should be adopted?
Now, the court is guided by the law, and we have Article 53 of the Constitution that provides that parental responsibility and the protection of children rests upon the parents, whether they are married or they are not married. Two, there is the issue of the best interest of the child. In the Children's Act 2022, it is one of the basic tenets upon which the courts, not only the courts, every organization and body that makes the decisions that touches on children, the best interest of the child. Three, there is what we call the wishes of the child.
Okay.
Now, in terms of the law, when the court is making a determination or a decision, it has to look at who has the primary responsibility, what we call the parental responsibility over this child. Essentially, the parents or the guardians are the people who have the parental responsibility. The best interest of the child. Even when the parties are moving separate ways, the court has to ensure that at least as much as possible, these children will not be disrupted in terms of the way they do life, how they get their sustenance, how they do their schooling. And three, the court has to consider what is their wishes. You know, as much as the parties are moving separate ways, the court can inquire from the children, where would you like to be staying?
At what age? Because then I am thinking that sometimes, you know, children as well, they will always get excited.
Yes.
I remember during my times, because my mom used to beat me a lot, you know, typically mothers will discipline you, but the dad was pretty much an easy one. So I'm imagining that at that point, without thinking so much, I'd have easily said, I want to go with daddy. And maybe it's not really for the best, or you know, if you critically look at it, it wouldn't be the best option. So at what age then would you allow for a child to decide that, yes, I want to go this direction or I want to go this direction?
So how that happens, there is what we call the children of tender age. These are children below the age of 11 years. Before the court makes a determination as to who should have the custody and who should have the access, there is what we call the children's officer's report. This is a report that is to be prepared. The children's officer, what they do, they interview both parties and they also interview the child. Now, and they make their report and their recommendation. Of course, there will be a narration as to how was the life of these children before the divorce, and how will it be affected. So, in considering all the factors, sometimes the children may wish which is not in their best interest. That's why the court is intervening.
Okay.
The guiding principle is the best interest has to be factored. Because at times, I know if we have to consider strictly what the children wish, sometimes they would say they don't even want to go to school. But you know, going to school is to their best interest.
Yeah.
So arrangements have to be made. But of course, the court also considers, before the court interviews the child, they have to make sure that this child understands what they are being taken through, so that even as they respond, their cognitive ability can speak some reasonability to the court.
Okay.
So the court considers a myriad of factors, not strict factors, but the bottom line is the best interest of the child has to be ensured.
Okay.
Yes. As much as the parents, the parties who have the principal primary responsibility, they have also to take it up. Yes.
All right. Perhaps a minute of your experience now that you're a grandmother. It clearly tells us that perhaps you are in charge of the kids, or what?
Yes. My divorce was interesting. It was desertion. Okay. That means the guy just takes off. So you have no choice but to take care of the child. And for me, and that is where now some of we talk about during our trainings, is that in our sessions, is that even if the other person doesn't take responsibility, you have to step up.
Okay.
So for me, it's been sole custody. And it was a decision I made that I was not going to pursue for joint custody, and the reason was I felt the inconsistency was creating instability for the children.
Okay.
So it just meant that I went for full custody, which is now what I got and still have. And I think it was a better decision for my children and for myself, because now you're working on what you have and what you don't have. And that helps me encourage other people where you find there's so much conflict, and one person has to be the adult in the case, then it means step up. And as Wakili has said, one person has to be responsible. If the other party is interested, then, because sometimes as we talk about children, they're very sensitive. They still have to deal with those traumas of either a parent deserting or refusing to take responsibility, or going to court and being forced to take the children and you do not want. So you have issues of the evil stepmother. Now, when you go through the whole process of divorce recovery, we don't even call them stepmothers, we call them bonus moms. Okay. Because the child is aware that whoever has been brought by the father or has been brought by the mother is actually there to help and assist them overcome the trauma and just have like a very normal life. So for us, what we do is whatever the court has said this should happen, then we help the parent navigate through that.
Right.
So if you have been told you're having shared custody, then for us is just to equip you and help you. How can you be a better parent so that you're not the one who's making the co-parenting difficult? If you want to get married, I mean, we're having now different stages. If you want to get married, how does your former spouse feel about it? Have you reached a place, we call it camp civility. Are we at camp civility where we can sit down and have a conversation and say, hey, look, I've decided to move on. Let's bring our kids together and have a conversation about it. Then custody issues become very easy very amicable. Now we're having even issues of our children getting married. Who goes to whose house? Are we taking the family that's coming in to the father's house or to the mother's house, or do we meet in a common ground? Who gets the dowry if, for example, both of us have remarried? So, but with now the proper tools and the understanding of the marriage has ended and the children are the most important people and the only thing joining you together, then it helps you just have that understanding of now we have to do this together and it is for life. Because there's no, even with children, now for marriage is not till death, it's now till divorce do us part.
Sadly.
Yeah, but for children, we actually say it is till death. They are your children till the very end. So you have to come with something that works. When they bring their new spouses, it has to work. When the grandchildren come in, it has to work. When maybe great-grandchildren come in, if God blesses us to that point, it has to work. So for us, it's just to equip you. The court has said this. How do we heal the family, both the former spouse and yourself and the children, to a point that now there's no drama around it? And even the people who come in, how do we accept them into these blended families and now just live harmoniously without so much drama, and facing the reality that it's not that there's anything against anybody, it just didn't work.
Well, isn't drama necessary at some point, Wakili? Because I am imagining that, a man would just decide, and this is so common with men, or so they say, at least I have received a couple of messages, and the ladies are just asking, are men really even interested in this talk of custody? Do they even ever want to take care? In fact, it looks like most of them are happy that, the child is said to be for the mom until they are 18. And they even confidently say, atanitafuta tu, akishafika hiyo miaka atakuja ritafute. I mean, is it not necessary that we have drama enough so that this man can take, can take charge? Because if we're going to talk about maintenance, if we're going to talk about mediation, why is it that they would be allowed to just walk out and go and begin another family as if this other one never existed?
The issue of, I will start with your entry point to that question. I know quite a number of men who are interested in their children. And they are actually, they fight to provide, they fight to protect, they fight to have custody. So as much as that is a general statement, the truth of the matter is any person who is responsible as a parent ought to take care of their children, whether they are married to the children's mother or not. The issue of the acrimony and whatnot, of course you understand, and with such discussions, people are also able to understand, because sometimes the type of the legal system that we have, the court can only intervene if somebody approaches the court. If no one goes to court, as much as we are crying how unfair is that a man is not taking care, a woman is not taking care, there is little the court can do.
Does it always have to be the persons involved, or say my mother could go on my behalf, or somebody else's mother, or the father could go on the behalf, because probably they're looking at the kids and they're thinking, well, these kids are suffering for nothing. Why don't we intervene? Why don't we step in? Does it always have to be both parties, the parents and...
So with children, it's a bit delicate, because the person who has to go to court, for instance, you're going to court to seek for custody. If you are seeking for custody for a child that is not yours, on what basis are you seeking that custody? If you are seeking for maintenance from a person, on what basis are you seeking maintenance from a person who is not a parent to this child?
Can the children then perhaps raise an alarm or go to court?
The children do not, because going to court means you're going to sign some papers. So children themselves, by themselves, they cannot go to
And in
court.
this case, I'm assuming that this child is probably 20 years old.
If they are 20 years. Now, I have recently seen there is an issue of, in essence, a child is considered a person who is below the age of 18 years. But in some circumstances, a child still needs the parental support even when they are beyond the age of majority, which is 18 years. Now the courts will grant parental responsibility past the 18th birthday. So at that instance, either the child can go to court because they have reached the age of 18 years, or the mother or the father can go to court. But in essence, children below the age of 18, they cannot go to court. They don't have the capacity to sign the court papers. Now, what happens? Somebody goes on their behalf. And this is a person who, either the parent or the guardian, or the parent, the guardian, or the applicant who want to be the guardian of this child. Because going to court means there is a prayer you are seeking before the court. If you have no interest for this child, then which prayer will you be seeking? But then it also depends. If you are going to court to seek protection against violence over these children, then Protection Against Domestic Violence Act has the people, individuals who are allowed to be the applicant, for which reason then they'll be seeking protection orders from the court. That then, the issue of the custody and maintenance, it is a bit strict, but the issue of the protection against the children or for the children against the domestic violence that either can be brought by the mother, the father, or any person related to them, can be brought by any person who seeks to have the child protected. Yes.
Well, just how many of the people, or of, perhaps looking at both sexes, who are the ones that actually seek, to get guidance more? Because then you'd probably have men coming on board, asking some of these questions. Or is the women that are concerned so much more, and especially when it comes to the factor of making sure that the kids are well, because then it requires for a lot of explaining, and not just one time explaining, but you have to walk with them through this journey for the entire times of your life. But I'm told we have to take a quick short break, and then we come back, respond to that. All right.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na Nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee. Soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue. Mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking,
nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know what kind of style you're going for.
To finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
Na safari hii
All right, welcome back to the Point, and the conversation is about child custody. Just what are the benefits and the challenges that come along joint custody arrangements? And Wakili here maintains that it will be important for us to always find amicable ways of solving these cases of child custody, as opposed to, you know, just taking the legal path. But just how possible is this, and how friendly is it for a majority? What are some of the benefits that come along with that? As of course they would evidently say that there are a couple of cases that we have witnessed that are working out successfully, but then there are some people who maintain that it's not as easy as it may look. Just how many, you know, in terms of numbers or in terms of statistics, what would you say in relation to the persons who are always going out there, willing to learn some more, willing to understand how best they can address the question of divorce and of importance, how they manage their kids at this trying moment?
It's interesting because now there's a shift. Initially, it was the women who were reaching out and trying to get the help. So you would have maybe a ratio of 5 to 1. So out of every 5 women, then you have 1 man. But it's slowly balancing out. And this is because women are doing the same as what men are doing. It's not just the men who are abandoning or, you know, don't want to take custody. Even now, the women are taking a turn and just, you know, not taking care of their children. So now custody cases have changed such that it's not just the men who are running away from their responsibility. The women are also running away from their responsibility. So you have a couple of men who now have been left to parent the child on their own and are actually trying to catch the women to tell them, hey, come and take care of your children, come help with the parenting. If it is a girl, the guy doesn't know what to do. So it's quite refreshing to see that those numbers are changing. Before, it was the women. Now we have men who are boldly coming out and saying, and it is really nice to see that turn of events.
And just how important is this recovery process, and you know, just seeking professional advice, you know, just getting to speak to persons that have perhaps gone through that journey, because then there are people who will opt to just take a backseat and, you know, go in their own cocoon and, you know, just run through it. And well, we have seen people who've managed anyway.
I think the interesting thing is we go through that process, all of us, whereby there's denial, you don't want to deal with it. Then you get to a point where you cannot navigate on your own anymore. So for us, actually, what we help you do is come into a community through group therapy, where you find other people, create new relationships, and get new insights together. So you have even people in different professions who will help you not just navigate on the marriage, because divorce affects even how you work, how you relate to people, your perception of life. I mean, this is a dream that has died. So for us, what we offer, and that is the best part of it, when you come, you're not just coming to recover from the divorce. You're coming to recover your life. It's like you're fighting for your life.
Right.
Yeah, because now you're trying to put your children in order, you're trying to put your home in order. If there were property issues, you're starting from scratch. I mean, some people have to start from sitting on the floor, buying furniture, you know, because of now all these issues. So basically what we do is we allow people to come into a space where they're unashamed to say, this is what I'm struggling with. But most of the time, we all run away from help. We go into early relationship. We call them roadblocks to recovery. So you go through different roadblocks as you're trying to recover from the whole process. But you hit a dead end because you see, let's say you take up, you say, I'm just going to numb myself with alcohol. Then it gets to a point now your family is not worried about the divorce. They are worried about your alcoholism. Or you get to a point your family is not worried about the depression. They're not worried about the divorce, they're now worried about the depression. So when you hit those roadblocks is when you're like, now I have to get out of this, probably because I need to find myself. And the other reason is I have children to take care of, or even where did my children go to? So once you come out of that space, which many people go through, and it is very normal, and I think that's where even society comes to a point and they shame you. Because they don't understand how was somebody, Wakili here was outstanding, or you have a nice job, and then suddenly we are finding you in ditches, and it is because of what you're going through. And now you have to, people actually have to hold you and just tell you it will be okay, you can get out of this, you can recover. Usually the family is not able to do that because they've not gone through that before. The church is not able to do that. The only people who can do that for you is people who have been through the journey. Because when you come and say, I'm struggling with, let's say, relationships, I'm trying to start new relationships and they're not working, that's where now we laugh and say, don't worry, let's start from the beginning. Wow. And then you actually now discover that I'm struggling in these specific areas because I have not done something like grieve the loss of my marriage, which is very important. And I haven't acknowledged the fact that my marriage has failed. So for us, we're just giving you a space to come and say, this is where I'm failing and how do I get better? Of course, the answer is with you, but we will equip you and make you feel like, and not even make you feel, you affirm you that you are on the right path. You never go through death and you don't cry. And for us, we say divorce is death without a coffin.
Well, interesting. Waigo Wanjiru says that, Linda, I have been through divorce. It's about 3 years right now, but in constant communication with my partner, and my child does not seem to worry so much. They are okay. You know, sometimes you tend to feel like they are being affected by this, but even when you try to engage them, they seem to be pretty much okay. What point would it be necessary for me to speak to them, or should I just assume they are okay?
I think you should never assume your child is okay. Sometimes how you approach it is talk about yourself so that the child sees you're okay, and be vulnerable, like if you're sad, if you're normal emotions. Because what usually happens when you go through a divorce, everybody is be strong, be encouraged, it will be okay, you know, but there's that point now you have to allow yourself as a person first to go through the emotions of how you feel. I remember one time my mom saying, you're very bitter. I told her, of course I am bitter. I have been through something that has made me very bitter. That acknowledgement made her be a bit more gentle with me. So if she's able to talk to her child in a way that shows her that I understand that this is not what you have been through, and what you have been through is not normal, I also am in that space. And like for the programs we have, we call it DC4K, which is just specifically for children in the same situation to come. And every time they enter class, they'll be able to express, how was your week? I've had a sad week. Why did you have a sad week? Maybe my dad was supposed to pick me, he didn't pick me. My mom was to buy me something and there's no money. But never assume because a child is not talking that they are okay.
Wow.
Yes.
Interesting. Wakili, let us not turn this into a conversation about divorce, because then reality is that these cases of child custody will not only affect persons that were married. You had mentioned earlier on, of course, these are parents to a child, never been married. Maybe it was just perhaps one engagement and a baby is here. And then there's all this confusion as to what needs to be done. How different and how manageable is it for these persons that perhaps have never been married before, but then again, there's a child somewhere in between?
The Constitution clearly states that the responsibility of a parent, it accrues whether you're married or you're not married.
Okay.
So when you're talking about, and what are these responsibility? The child has what we call the rights of a child, which then is the responsibility of the parent. Issue like shelter, food, education, health, security, protection, those are the rights of a child, and what is the responsibility of a parent. And a parent is a biological parent of this child, or a parent by virtue of law that you have adopted this child. You have become a guardian of this child. So when you're talking about the issue of parental responsibility, you don't have to be married to someone for them to take responsibility. If they are the parents, by law, they should take responsibility.
Wakili, it gets complicated when there's that amicable agreement that I'll take care of my child, and then you take care of them perhaps this mother has a life and therefore they go and meet another partner, or they even get another man and they get another child without having to marry that other person, and then they become 2 children, and then you find that this man now begins saying, well, I was giving out this and all that, but now I cannot take care of another man's child, because then you can't really micromanage how this money is going to be spent if you're going to release it to the account for the sake of it taking care of your child.
And if, for example, if your child is 1 out of the 3 that the mother has, your responsibility is to your child, not the other child, unless you accept what we call the acquisition of parental responsibility, unless you accept to also take care of the others. And how, when you're talking about the parties who are not staying together, at least the court tries to make a demarcation that does not really complicate issues. You would find probably the court will say, the person, when you're talking about custody, I wish to mention there is what we call the legal custody and actual custody, care and control. When you're talking about the legal custody, that falls on the parents, whether they are staying together or not. The issue of the actual custody, care and control then goes to either of the parent. With if you have actual custody and control, the other parent will be given visitation rights. That's what we call the access rights. And you'll see, in more often than not, when the person who is staying with the children, and that will be the person who has the actual custody, care and control, the court may say, you provide for a shelter, you provide for food. The one who is not staying with the child, the court will say, you provide for medical cover, you provide for education, and maybe you send some maintenance. So that then, you see, if it's for school fees, you get the details for school fees account, so that except the maintenance that the court may give being a figure, then the other issue of support, you take directly to the institution responsible. If it's about the issue of medical cover, you can take a medical cover, so that only when the child is sick, they can utilize the cover. So that then it is not a general support you're giving to all the children of that household, including those who are yours and those who are not yours. At least the court has tried to make the demarcation. And I wish to mention, previously, there was a general rule that mothers are the persons who can take responsibility of children of tender age. It was a general rule. But then, recently, there has been a shift that even the fathers can take responsibility of children of tender age. If they can prove, I am better placed, even when you're not staying together with the mother, I am better placed to take care of these children as compared with the mother. The court will give you that custody.
What are some of the things that the court would look out for to conclude that indeed this gentleman is better placed to take care of the child?
One, previously, before the court would give the custody of a children of tender age to the father, they have to consider that, one, the mother is very irresponsible.
Okay.
2, she is a drunkard. She is not of a good moral character. She doesn't. She is not there for the children. So that then, this is a person who they only bring the children in their home, and then they fly out. They leave them. Now, what the court considers before denying you or giving you custody, 1, can you be there for these children, because children need protection. Can you be there? 2, can you protect them? Have you been there? And what is your, how have you taken up your responsibility? Now, if the parties are not staying together, those are some of the factors the court will consider. The court will also even consider, do you even have a place to stay? Because you may want to be given custody, but you don't have a house to place these children. You may want to have custody, care and control, but you cannot even feed yourself. But the other party can feed themselves. So the court considers a number of factors. And these are the factors that align to the basic needs of this child. Can you offer them protection? Can you offer them security? in the environment where the children will be living, does it expose them to danger? Does it expose them to injuries, to people who can harm them? The court will consider if the court finds that in the circumstance, the father is better placed, considering the basic needs of the child, the court will give the father custody. If the court considers the mother is better placed in the totality of circumstances to take care and protect these children, the court will give the mother.
Custody to the mother.
Yes.
Well, interesting. And so we have witnessed over time that, you know, there's a current trend where people are so comfortable with co-parenting. Perhaps back then it wasn't the case. You know, you come in, it's a blended family. Before you know it, it's something else. Before you know it, it's actually a very comfortable space of co-parenting. The reality is that sometimes they might not tell us that this comes with a lot of emotional toll. So how do you advise some of these persons, and I'm sure you probably have experienced, or you have worked, or you have, you know, spoken to a couple of them that are in that space of co-parenting. How do they just manage to address this aspect of emotional toll that comes with that?
I think once you accept that the marriage has come to an end, you're able to release your partner to move on with their lives. Then the other thing is, which brings up emotion, is now having a bonus partner, either the bonus mom or the bonus dad. But for us, what we advise is that the person who comes for help must realize that the other person is not getting the help. So they have to kind of like educate or change in character and behavior so that this person is calmer. Like, let's say you have been arguing about times for collecting and dropping and picking the child. How you respond to their reaction will tell them where you are at. Probably before you would shout at each other, fight about it, but you get to a point where whether they are late, you give them a bit of grace and, you know. But it comes with a lot of, you have to, we call it emotional hygiene, whereby now you have to be on check of what your emotions are. Don't react, respond. So it's not an easy thing, but it is so beautiful to actually watch that it is being done successfully. That you can have children who will enjoy both of their parents come to maybe a birthday party and there's no drama. Because usually they knew when they were living with these parents, they were always shouting, they were fighting, it got worse after the divorce. But now it comes to a point when one partner is calm, then the other one calms down. So and also the other person is curious, why is this person not fighting the way they used to fight? So we've also had incidences of where one partner realizes, this guy is getting help and I'm not. So I am the toxic one in this whole setup, so they seek also for help. But we are getting there. I think there's so much joy in just seeing people who are successfully co-parenting. The other thing I must say is that the legal system has really helped. Because if there is conflict when you're having conversations, the courts are ready, the lawyers are there to communicate. You don't have to keep talking to each other. The lawyers will give advice on how to meet, what conversations to hold, who has paid school fees when, you know. So what I like now about the legal system is they are very helpful in ensuring that people are successful in co-parenting. Now for us is now to just help them navigate those raw emotions.
Right.
And just keep them in check so that now there's no drama around it.
At all.
Yes.
And I'm glad that you speak of just how one can go through the legal process. Wakili Mumanyi here says that, Linda, it's not been possible for me to manage it, you know, outside court, or perhaps, you know, just gentleman's agreement. I'd wish to proceed actually, you know, to seek legal advice and legal help in relation to, you know, gaining custody of my children, my two children, 12 and 6. Could Wakili just tell us where to begin, or where does someone begin? And of importance, just how expensive is the process?
For the parties who are not married, there is the provision of what we call parental responsibility agreement. This is where, and I also appreciate individuals, they have different capacities and different capabilities. And the beauty of talking the beauty of having a discussion, the beauty of having an engagement is that the mother will not demand so much that you cannot provide. And they understand your capacities, so that the mother will not ask for 1 million from as maintenance, yet they know I cannot afford that. The father will not demand to see the child up to late night, because they also appreciate and understand these children need to prepare, they need to do their homework. So in the parental responsibility agreement, this is where the parties express their wishes and they express their capacities and capabilities. That agreement, once it is signed, it is filed in court and it becomes binding to both parties. And actually it disposes of, because in the parental responsibility agreement, what I've noted, for the parties who are not staying together, the issue has been how and where can I have the access?
Okay.
Those are issues you can address in the parental responsibility agreement. Because you see, when there is no a clear demarcation as to the limit, you see, you have separated. It will be of no point for me to come to your place of residence. I may come there, I see another lady, I become so emotional, or you come to my place, you see another guy parked the car that may be even bigger than your car, you become so emotional. So when the parties agree and discuss, it becomes easy to find neutrality to the spaces where it cannot evoke emotions. Because every time the emotion is invoked, then the reasonability runs off. So that even when I wanted to come to have access, assuming you are late, you are coming in a different car, you are coming in a manner that shows it's a show off, you know. Then it puts off the other guy. Then they will always looking at the time. You are late by 5 minutes. Who do you think I am?
Wow.
You understand?
Yeah.
Now, when there is of course it is not easy to talk, but with the help of the people who are trained,
it can be easy.
It can be easy. But if it is you and them, then you'll find you are competing for no apparent reason.
Right.
You are competing, you're trying to outshine each other, which ultimately it is going to destroy you, it is going to destroy that which you're trying to achieve. And if you're separated, if you are trying to achieve the amicable solutions to divide the property, the amicable solution to deal with the issue of the children, then you need to divorce emotions from the point of interaction.
Yeah.
It is not easy, I know, it's not easy, but with the help of the people who are trained,
it is possible.
it is possible.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, time is extremely out of, like we really cannot go beyond. It's around 29. We could have around 1 minute of perhaps you as a person who's experienced this, but also as a coach, speaking to the pastors that are watching this evening in relation, to what it is that they're going through, especially when it comes to these battles of custody. What would you tell them? And I know we have spoken about how you need to divorce emotions, but what would be that parting shot?
I think for me is, if you're going through divorce, seek help. Just the way you go to a lawyer, or when you're sick, you go to a hospital. Seek help, seek encouragement, seek support. It gets easier, and then it demystifies the whole illusions that come and all the emotions that come with divorce. So if you're out there and you're just going through a divorce, just reach out and seek help and support, because the journey will be made much easier. Yes.
Wow, there's a gentleman watching who says, what a nice topic, an engagement, child custody. I'm going through the separation process. It is now 3 months. Thank you so much. I am learning a lot. I think it's good to hear such conversations. Also, Wakili, as we sum it up, briefly, in cases where parents want to relocate, and this is pretty much common, and perhaps not just around Nairobi, around the country, but beyond.
Now, there is what I mentioned about the legal custody.
Yeah.
The legal custody, this entails the capacity and capabilities of parents to make very key and vital decisions about the child. If the parties have, unlike in her case where she is the sole custodian of her children.
Right.
If the custody, the legal custody is shared, then it's incumbent upon the person who has the actual custody to notify the other party on some of the vital decisions you're making. And this is important because assuming the father is providing school fees and you're the one who is staying with the children, you cannot, without involving the father, change the school the children have been going. You cannot, without involving the father, decide these children will be eating at high-end hotels, yet that is not, it doesn't resonate to the amount of the maintenance that the father is sending. So the issue of the legal custody speaks to involving the other party when you're making the decisions that can impact their support and their contribution. Well, the issue about relocation, if you're moving out of the country, then you need to agree. And the father needs to, the party that is going with the child, if the other party needs to give consent.
Right.
Because it's not your child alone. It's a child that somebody else has a say over.
All right, thank you so much. And of course, it was great having you. I'd want to assume that those then are your parting shots because then we are extremely out of time. Paul Macharia, the last speaker, advocate of the High Court and equally a family lawyer, thank you so much for speaking to us this evening, as well as Kate Nyambura, divorce recovery coach, and as well, thank you so much for sharing your experience. Immense feedback right here. We have to close it, and kindly, the panelists can share their contacts. We'll appreciate. Okay, quickly. Yes. So for us, you can find us at Bruce House. Our law firm is Macharia, Gaido and Morigo Advocates. We are at 8th floor, suite 804. My phone number, maybe for someone who would wish to call, is 0704-259-382. 0704-259-382. Wow.
For us, it's the Oasis experience. We are on all social media handles. We are on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. So the Oasis experience, and then my number is 0722-735457, 0722-5457.
Should we say strictly professional? Anyway, and it's actually important that you mentioned.
We also online. You can check out our website, our Facebook pages, our the social media pages also online.
All right, with the same names, yeah?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much once again. And as well, we say those ones that, are always, letting their hands out to seek for help, will always find help ready for them. And of course, we'll find it easy going through the difficult times that they are going through. And I like the fact that men actually are the ones who have sent lots of messages. It means then that we're coming from that phase where, yes, it confirms that indeed men have decided that they're not going to suffer in silence. And therefore, it's a beautiful thing. We keep having these conversations. And of course, if you're joining us shortly, you need not to worry. It is on our socials across. You can always check out that conversation and find help if need be, or as well help somebody else. My name is Linda Alela. It was nice having you. I look forward to see you again on Sunday. Do have yourself a lovely, lovely evening ahead. TV47 Weekend Edition closes at this point. Asante.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa